Hello, welcome to the Unity tutorial. In this tutorial, we will create a simple inventory in Unity. For example, the player can move in 4-directional arrow up, down, left, and right, and the player can pick items here, pick other items here, and also can stacking an item like this. For example, when we are going to the box is becoming 2, so the item is stacked. And let's try to pick all the items here. Okay, we have 4 keys, 4 price box, and 2 heart. And also we will learn how to drop the items. Let's click the key, the player drop the key, and the keys become 3 in stock. And let's move and drop the heart. Let's drop the heart again, so the heart will empty and the inventory will be removed from the inventory. And then let's drop all the item and let's try to pick it again. Okay, that should cover the most basic inventory system in a game. So let's try to build it together in Unity. Alright, this is a new project of Unity, and the first step we would like to make is a character controller. Let's just make it simple. Make a simple character that can move up, down, left, and right. So let's create an object here. To the object, sprite, and circle. And then let's create a script folder. And then create a C# script called player controller. Okay, the player controller should be a very simple script that we will make it very simple as for example. So let's define the player speed equals to 10, and in update we will read the horizontal equals to input get axis row, and the vertical and let's create a transform function that would move the character. Vector 2 horizontal and vertical times speed times time dot delta time. Okay, this should cover the character. So let's delete the unnecessary function, so we will just need the update function here. Let's save and then let's try to play the game. So we should have we have to assign it to the player, the script, drag and drop here, and then let's play the game. Okay, it's working perfectly with the arrow keys. So I'm pressing left, right, up, and down. I can make a circle here, and okay, that's just a simple movement. So the next step is we will create the item list. In the video before, I have 3 items, that is key, heart, and price book. So how to make that items? We will create an approach called scriptable object. Scriptable object itself is a type of class that can be used to create multiple instances. So we just create an item scriptable object and we can declare many items. So let's try to create the scriptable object. We will create the item as a name, and let's open it. Okay, we will change the mono behavior to scriptable object, and then we have to create an attribute, create assets menu, file name is equals to item, and menu name is equals to scriptable object items. Okay, and let's write the variables for this scriptable object class. We will need public and ID as item identifier, and name, item name. Sorry, this should be string since the name is string, and description, and the last thing is sprite item icon. Okay, the scriptable object is ready, and we will have to listing the item that we would like to make. So let's create a folder called scriptable objects, and let's make the scriptable object by right clicking here, create scriptable object and items. Okay, let's create hard. Before we create item, I think I should import the sprites. Okay, I have icon set here, and let's create a folder sprite folder, and let's import this to the project. Create it as a multiple because we have multiple items here. Okay, we have 1 2 3 4 8 16. Okay, let's just slice it automatically, and we get 16 items. Okay, let's just pick random. For example, we would like to create this trophy. Let's create trophy in our scriptable object. Sorry, let's rename it to trophy. Let's give this item ID 1, and the name is trophy. Description is cool trophy, and the icon is from icon set trophy. Okay, let's create another item. Actually, we can create many items that we would like to, like 100 items maybe, but in this tutorial we will create maybe four items, I think. Okay, the next item is sun heart. Let's give 3 pure heart item, and the last is let's create a potion. All potion. All right, now we have 1 2 3 4 items that is ready to implement it on the game. Okay, move to the next step. We will create a game manager that spawn all the items randomly on the field. Okay, first we will create an empty object called game manager, and we will create the script. Okay, and let's assign the script into the game manager object and open the script. Alright, now we will create an item, the item list that would be spawned in the field. Let's create a list of item called item to spawn, and let's create a single game object as a prefab. Okay, before we continue, we will have to make a prefab here as a sample. Let's call it an item field, and let's give a sprite renderer, and let's pick this random item here. Oh, okay, heart, okay, as a reference on the field. Okay, it will be like this. So, and don't forget to give it a circle collider, and let's set the radius to maybe 0.65, and then let's make it a trigger, so when the player collides this, we will use a trigger. Okay, and we drag it to the prefab folder to serve it as a prefab. Alright, let's continue with the code. Okay, we will create a function called spawn item on the field. Okay, let's create a random position for the script. So before that, we will create a position, max position and min position in the x-axis and the y-axis. So let's just try to create a float max x spawn pos equals to 7 and max y spawn pos equals to 2. Let's create a number that represent the number of items spawned. It's called spawn number, and let's just assign the value to 10. Okay, then we will iterate the 10, so the game manager will spawn 10 objects. Okay, we will just create a random spawn position. Okay, not too precise, but in the real life we have to determine the position of the object, but in this tutorial we will just randomize with the min and max value. Okay, let's try to create the randomized pos. Max x spawn pos. And then we will pick an item to spawn from the list using just a random number. Okay, equals to random dot range 0 and item to spawn dot count. So the system will create a random number between 0 and 4. Okay, next we will try to instantiate or spawning the object. Let's create a spawn item equals to instantiate item prefab and then new vector 2 x pass y pass and quaternion dot identity. Okay, and then let's spawn the item field. Let's try to run the game, but don't forget to add the prefab here and also item to spawn list. Okay, some tips: we can lock this inspector, so when we click to another object, the inspector will not change. So we can select many objects at once and drag to the array here. Okay, let's re-unlock that again to see the result. Okay, now we have heart, potion, price box, entropy, and then let's save and play and let's see what this looks. Okay, now it's spawning. Okay, sorry, we have to call the function. Alright, let's try again. Okay, it's all hard. So for now the item is hard because we don't have a reference for it. So we should create the script called item field to identify the prefab. So let's try to edit the prefab again. Let's create the script called item field. And then let's give it a variables item inside this, so we can map the items into the prefabs. So public item called item. Okay, let's give the item field an item field script and let it be none because we will assign it from the game manager. So in the game manager, we have picked an index spawn, and it's now time to implement the index spawn into the prefab. So let's determine the item field here. Item field is equals to spawn items that get component item field. Okay, and then don't forget to add sprite renderer is equals to spawn item get component sprite renderer. Okay, and then we will assign the index spawn here to the spawn item. Item field dot items is equals to item to spawn index spawn. Okay, the index spawn is randomly created by this function. It could be 0 or 1 or 2 or 4. So we will get the random item here, and then don't forget to assign the sprite. Item icon. Okay, let's replay the game. Okay, let's save the prefab first, and we can delete it. Perfect. Now we create 4 random items with the quantity of 10. Okay, maybe this is not the best practice for this because we still have many intersect objects, but we will not cover this. We will cover this another time. We will focus on the inventory system. Okay, the next step is to create a system which is player can pick up the items. For now, the player is just can only pass through the item without doing anything. So we will create a script that make player pick up the item and then store it on their inventory. So let's create a script called player inventory. And then let's assign on the player. Let's open the script and let's create the list of object, the list of game object, which represents the player items. Okay, and let's initialize here. And then we will create a function called onTriggerEnter to detect when the player is touching the items. onTriggerEnter 2D, since we are using a 2D environment, and the parameter is collider 2D. Okay, this function is derived from mono behavior. So if you are not inherit the mono behavior, this will not working. And then let's create one more function called pick item, and the parameter is game object, item object. So we will make this function called this function because when the player trigger an object or touching the object, he will call the pick item. So the pick item will then fill the list of game object that hit by the player. So basically it's like a picking up something and place it on your bag. Okay, let's just try to call the function. Because we would like to store the game object, we will call the call.gameObject. And then on the pick item, we will add it on our list. Player items.add item object. Okay, so let's try the game. And don't forget to set the item field on the circle collider and check the is trigger. And also don't forget to make the collider on the player. Let's make it small. And also don't forget to insert the rigid body 2D for the triggering, because if you don't have a rigid body trigger, if you don't have a rigid body 2D component, this script will not work on trigger enter. Okay, so let's, because we don't want to use a gravity, we will set it to 0 and then let's play the game. Alright, let's check. Before that, we have already create a list with the serialist field, so we can see on the inspector here our player items. For now it's empty, and let's try to walk and pick something. Okay, it's increment, but the object is still here. We have to destroy the object pick, but I think it would like to just disable the object because destroying is affecting your garbage collection. So instead of destroy, we will hide the object. Item object set active false. Okay, this should be enough, and let's try to run the project again. Alright, okay, we pick the items, and the items is registered to the player inventory. Okay, that's great. And we would like to create a user interface indicate our UI. So the player could view which item that they have in the game screen, but not in editor, because we would like to player to understand what items they are carrying and what items that they can drop or pick. Okay, let's create the UI called image. Let's just a simple UI. Let's give a name container inventory UI, and let's place it on the top left. Don't forget to anchoring on the top left, so when you change your screen it will stay here. And let's resize it as maybe 130. Oh, sorry. Okay. 300 versus 300. Okay, I think this should be enough for this tutorial, and I would like to make it black and giving the alpha so we can still view the inventory. And the next step is we create a grid layout group, so the items or the child is automatically in grid position when you are entering some components inside this parent. For example, we will create an image and then duplicate the image, and let's try to make many. Okay, it's basically a grid. So let's setting the grid size, the spacing here to maybe 10. And okay, we got the grid space. So also don't forget to make it scale with this scale screen size to, if you are working on mobile devices or fixed resolution, this will be important because with this canvas scaler you can scale the UI properly. Okay, so then let's resize the item, not so big, so we cannot resize with this, but we have to resize in the cell size. Let's make it 80. Okay, and then for padding, let's add a 10 on the left on the top. And let's try to duplicate. Okay, this look nice. Let's try to resize this. Okay, I think this is perfect for our example. So now we have to create, let's rename it to item UI and make it a prefab later. Okay, now we have to add one more image for displaying the image of this inventory. Let's just name it an icon, item icon, and let's resize it. Let's change the color of the parents. Okay, and the item icon is probably okay. And then the second element is text. Since we are not imported text mesh pro, we will import it. And now it's finished. Let's create this is as a item description. Let's make the text black. Auto size, we will stick with the font size. Okay, for example, we would like to name it a trophy, and the quantity of the trophy is 3. Okay, I think this is enough for our example, but you can do more than just this. Like when you have many character like this, it can be resized and you have to tweak it manually. But for this tutorial, we will create a static configuration like this. I think this is enough. Okay, let's make it item name, and the quantity is 0. Then drag it in the prefab folder. Oh, sorry, we have to drag the item UI. Okay, we delete it, and now we have to create an UI displayer on the player inventory. So let's go into the script again. And let's register the transform container inventory UI, and then game object prefab item UI. Okay, so for refreshing the object, we will create a function called refresh UI. So when anything happens to the list of game object, the UI will be updated. It can be update, add an item, or remove an item. We will recycle the UI because recycling is make sure that your data is accurate. Or we can also actually use a manual like an add and manually delete the items, the list, but I recommend you use a recycle approach. Okay, let's create a function called refresh inventory UI. And the first thing we need to do is destroying all the transform. But for now, like I said before, but destroy is not good. We could use a spawn or like a pull, object pulling, but in this tutorial I will just use destroy for inventory system. So let's loop through cleaning up, transform child in container inventory UI. Okay, this is will loop through the child in container inventory UI. So we'll just destroy child.gameObject. Okay, and the second step is to register the item based on the list player items. So we will do the iteration again. Player item in player items. We like the list is, I usually write a variable in list is like a plural using s, but in the singular form this would be a single form. So the player item in player items, that would be efficient way to read the code. Okay, now we will instantiate the item UI. So let's declare the game object. Item UI is equals to instantiate prefab item UI, and the position is, because we have already used a grid in our previous setting in container, so we don't have to declare the position manually. We just have to make it a vector to 0, and the rotation is also just quaternion identity. But the fourth parameter is have to be the container, the parent that will be assigned to the new object. So the new instantiate object will be child of the parent. So we will now enter the container inventory UI. Alright, let's just test this. And don't forget to add the inventory UI and the prefab item UI. The container is this, and the prefab is item UI. Let's try this script. Oh, sorry, I haven't assigned the player to call the refresh UI. So we will refresh the UI after we are picking an item. Alright, let's try again. Okay, now the UI is updated, but it's still ugly because we haven't identified what the icon and what the description. Okay, to do that, create a object or class that will map the item UI to identify which is the item icon and the item description. So let's create it here. It's called item UI. Okay, it should contain public image .ui, icon image, and the second is public tm pro Okay, we have to import it. tmp underscore text called text item name. Okay, we'll do the unnecessary method here, and we will register here. Oh, first we have to register it onto the player, to the prefab. Play item UI and register the item icon and item description text. Okay, all right. Now we will register the item UI. Sorry, I have not import the Unity Engine UI. Item icon is equals to item UI dot get component item UI, and we have in item UI an icon image. Okay, and the second is the text mesh pro tmp text item name text equals to item UI get component item UI text item name. Okay, and let's assign the icon item icon dot icon image, also that sprite is equals to, okay, sorry, we have to determine this first. Item equals to pair item get component image item field, okay, dot item. The item field here is we have already have a collection of player items here, and the player items is have the component called item field. Let's try to find this is item, so we can access the item here, and then we will use the item icon that sprite to assign the sprite is equals to item dot item icon, and then the item name text dot text is basically function in text mesh pro for displaying the text is equals to item dot item name. All right, now we will test the game and hit the play button. All right, now we touch the item, and the item is price box, potion, price box. Now we see the image is stretched. We have to add some extra code to make it more beautiful, and it's called item icon preserve aspect is equals to true. Okay, yeah, let's try to play. Okay, I think our player already collided with the price box, and now look, the item is not stretched. So when we see this in the item, why it's so beautiful and not stretched? Because this in image type we have take the preserve aspect via script. Okay, now we can pick the object and display it on the items that we have. Alright. Next, we would like to create a drop system so the player can drop the item on their inventory to the field. Okay, the first thing we need to accomplish is to create a drop script in the player inventory. Okay, let's go to the player inventory and create a function to drop the items. Okay, let's call the function is drop item, and with the parameter of game object, item object. Okay, so when the object is selected to drop, we will remove the item in the list here. So if we have 3 items and we want to drop the price, for example, or the keys, we will just remove game object from this list. So to doing that, we will just create player items and remove with the parameter of its object. Okay, since we are removed directly the component, we do not need index unless we are using a remove add. But for now, let's just remove the index. Let's just remove the object from the list. And then we have to turn the object active again, because when the player pick the object, we hide them. And then we positioning the object beside the player, let's say in the right side on the player. So we will alter the transform. Position is equals to new vector2 transform.position.x plus 1. So the object is positioned on the player, but in the right side. And then we create transform position.y. Alright, then when the object is active, the object will move one position from the player on the right. Okay, and don't forget to refresh inventory UI. Alright, so we have created drop item, and we would like to assign that on a button. So when we have inventory here, let me demonstrate to you again. We have a bunch of items here. Okay, we're going to pick one. Okay, we have 3 items, but it's not clickable. So we will have to add a button on the item UI. So to do that, we will click the item UI prefabs and add a button. Okay, now let's try to play again. And when we pick up something, we could click it. Okay, look, it's look like a button is pressed. Okay, we know that button is having on click, but we will assign it via script. So the button could know which item they would like to drop. Okay, let's just assign the function when we instantiate the button. It's here, and let's define our button. Button item is equals to item UI dot get component button. We have already add the button, so it will be fine. So the next one is, let's add on click, and first we will remove all the listener, so we don't have to duplicate action when we are refreshing inventory. The common mistake is we do not remove all listener, and the next action that we register to the button is called twice. So it's really important to remove the listener. And then next is button item is on click add listener. Because we are going to assign drop items which is have a parameter, we will use a lambda function. Okay, and then add drop item and then player item. Alright, so when we are refreshing inventory, the action should be registered here. Okay, so let's just start and see the result. Play the button. Alright, we will pick price, we'll pick everything, and then let's drop the potion. Alright, it's spawned beside the player by one coordinate from the player, X coordinate. So we can repick it again and drop it again. We would like to drop the trophy, drop the price box, drop the trophy. Okay, and we drop all the item in our inventory. We can pick it again and drop it again all over and over. Okay, that is how to drop an item in inventory. Okay, for the last step of this tutorial is how to stacking an item. Okay, for now, our state here is when we are picking an object, it will duplicate the instance. Look, we have 2 price box and we have 2 heart and potion and other. So let's make it stackable. So it should be one item represent how many items that were occupied by the player. For example, we have 2 heart, that would be draw heart with the number of 2. Okay, to do that, we have to create some modification in our player inventory. For now, our player inventory have a list of game objects here. We need a class to make the game object has many properties. So we will try to make a class called player item, which is contains the name, item name, and then public of the list of game object. Let's call it item object. Okay, so instead of having a list of game object, we will have a list of player items here. So let's change the game object into the player item. Alright, okay, we will get some errors in our code because before we are referencing the game object. So since we are changing the game list of game object into a list of player items, we will have to modify some script. Okay, so why is player items? Because we would like to identify the number of the object stack using the list here. Okay, so we will have a player item. For example, the item name is heart. We will have a list of heart here, so we can count how many heart that we have in our inventory. So the concept is just a symbol like that. So let's just modify the error into the player items, player item, and then let's change the game object here to player item 2. But we will get another error since here need reference to the object. So we will define a game object here, and we will change the name to ITM, and player item is equals to ITM item object 0. Okay, we will reference the first object on the player item. Okay, since we have a list of object here, when we have one, we will make the first one zero index as a reference. All right, and in the drop function we have error function. For now, let's just comment this. Okay, let's save and let's see in the scene. Okay, let's play the game. Okay, we are, oh, I'm sorry, we have to add system serializable system dot for make the class is visible to the inspector. Okay, let's view the player inventory here. Okay, now we'll play and let's pick an item. Okay, the player item didn't add. Oh, okay, sorry, we have to also add modify the pick item. Okay, for our current state, the pick is picking a game object, but now we have to pick a player item and assign the object inside the list. Okay, let me show you how to do that. The first thing is, let's modify the pick item. Let's comment all first. Item on item object is equals to item object dot get component item field dot item. Okay, so we have item field on the object on the field, and we grab the item class here as an item object. So we have to create a logic between the stack and not stack. So let's say we have the item with the same ID. Okay, let's try play this. We know that some items have some kind, and the kind is represented by ID here in this case. Look at this. The heart is having an ID of 3, potion 4, rice box 2, and the trophy is 1. So we will use the ID to identify if we should stack or not the object. If we want to stack, so the ID will be same and we stack, and if the ID is different, we will not stack it. Okay, so how to do that? We have to create an iteration for each object in our inventory. Okay, let's say we have an iteration like this. Player items dot count. Okay, and after we get the item object, we will create an if item object dot id is equals to we need the player items here, so let's determine id item in player item player item is equals to player items the index dot item object. We will use the 0 as we described before. We are using the first object with the index of 0, and dot get component item field item. Okay, and then we compare the item object dot id into the item player item dot id. Okay, and when the id is match or same, we will stack. So before that, we will create a boolean called is stack. Let's give a value of false, but if the object is stacking, let's create is stack is equals to true. Okay, and then let's add the object into the index of the player items, which is the id is same. So it will be player items I item object, add item object. Okay, so when our loop is matched, so we'll have to break for the loop is not going to run again. So it would be nice and it would be cheap for the processing. Okay, so this condition if stack is found, but if the stack is not found in this iteration, so the stack variable will stay false. So what happens if the stack is false? Okay, we will just create an if stack is false. We will just add a new player item inside the player item list. Okay, so we will just have to add item dot add, and we have to create a new player item, and we give the name of the object. Item name is equals to item object, which is here, dot name, and the second is item object is equals to new list game object, and then let's assign the value, which is item object. So this is list. I think I made a mistake by item object. We will change it to plural by rename symbol, add an s, and then all the code will transform to item objects. Okay, that's nice. And don't forget to recommend this. We'll have to refresh the inventory and make the item object false. So I think we don't need this one because we have replaced the simple addition here to the addition with the stack function. So let's try to play the game. Let's see if it's work. Alright, now let's pick at the player, and we have player item is empty. So let's pick this one, potion, and we have the item name potion, and the item object is one potion. So let's pick another potion here. Okay, we have two potion here, and let's pick different item. Okay, it's rendered as a price box, and we have price box 1. Okay, that should be the case that our object is already stacked, but the information here has not been updated. So we will create an updated quantity of the item stack. So let's get back to the script, and we will display here in the refresh inventory. We will add for now the item name, the text is just an item name, but now we will add item name and the quantity of the items. Okay, let's modify this to the we'll using a string interpolation and start with the $sign. And let's have the variable is between the curly braces item name, and then we will create a quantity here, which is item the item object, and then we will count this. Okay, we will get the quantity of the items on each player item. Okay, let's just play this, and we will see okay, the quantity of the price box 1, and when we pick the other item, we have a potion 1, And let's pick price box again, and it is count 2. The potion 2. Okay, perfect. But the drop system is still wrong, because we still don't have a logic about dropping an item, which is it stacked or not. So when we press the button here, okay, yeah, it's buggy. This, look, okay, it's bugged because we don't have the right logic for dropping the item. So the next, we will try to modify our drop items. So in drop items here, since we are having a list, we have to identify the index of the object we are going to drop. So when before we just have a game object, so when referencing the object, we could delete the object from the list. But for now, we will have to specify the index of the item in the list here. So let's just try to modify the drop function using index. Alright, and then we will make a condition if player items in the index that is here, and item objects dot count is more than 1, we will drop the objects in the item objects. Okay, but if the item object is just 1, like 1, this can be value. This value can be 2 or 3 or more than 1, but not include 1. But else is when the item is only once, we will have to drop the list of here player items. Okay, when the objects here is 1, we will delete this whole class. But if item object is more than 1, let's say it's 2, let's delete the items here. Okay, got it? Alright, okay, we will delete the player items, remove add, because we will play with the index here, and enter the index as a parameters. Okay, so and then on the button, let's add an index. Okay, usually we can store the index with the for loop, but with the for each, we will like index outside the for each. Index is equals to 0, and we will increment here. Okay, but let's assign the index here. Since it add listener here, we will have to create a copy of the index. Let's call it an x, and assign here as an x, because if we are assign this index, it will be error. It's okay. Let's try to play. Okay, let's pick an item. Heart, we have 1, potion 2, 3. Okay, let's drop the potion. Okay, the potion drop, and in our inventory there is 2 potion left. Let's drop again 1, and let's drop, and our inventory is clear. We don't have any more potion. But let's pick again. Let's pick all the items here. Let's drop the trophy. The trophy is gone. Let's drop the potion. We still have 3 in stock. And heart, we still have heart in stock. And let's clear by dropping all the items. Okay. Alright, maybe that is the tutorial that I can share with you about a simple inventory system. We can pick the items and render it as a UI, and then we can drop it items wherever you want. Okay, this all for the tutorial, and if you like the video, hit like button and subscribe the channel. So if you have any thought about this tutorial, please comment in the down below so we can discuss what is missed or what do you want to know more about this inventory system. Okay, I think that's all. See you later.